Hey friends, it's me, Mr. Rosa, for our first session on online writing. Very excited to get back into, or I guess in this case, out of the classroom, but to connect with you guys. I miss you all so much and wish I was able to be closer to you, but we have to do what we have to do, and in this case, we will do our best. So, for our first session on writing, I thought, what better thing to tackle than boredom? Something that I've been dealing with for the past couple of weeks. I'm sure you have too. Um, we've got a lot of downtime on our hands right now. To say that is a little bit of an understatement, but we all have to come up with creative and imaginative things to do to battle boredom. So, today's article that we're going to write about is an article about astronauts and boredom. I know, you might be thinking, how do those two words fit into the same sentence? Well, we're going to read this article and find out. So, we are reading out from a web called Wonderopolis, where wonders of learning never cease. I love this website, my friends. There is so many good wonders on here. And if you have your own wonder, one of the cool things is you can actually submit it to the site, and sometimes they'll actually answer it for everybody to read. So the wonder of the day, um, for this particular topic, was, do astronauts get bored in space? It's a good question. Have you ever wondered, do astronauts get bored in space? What do astronauts do in their free time in space? And how can astronauts cope with boredom on long missions? Today's wonder of the day was inspired by Michael. Michael wonders, what do astronauts do in space? Thanks for wondering with us, Michael. Now, you're going to notice as we read this article today, there are some different um, there's some different text structures going on. You'll see around this word adventurous, there's this nice little yellow highlight. If you hover over top of it, it will tell you what the word means, gives you that definition. These are typically found on some of the larger, harder to read or harder to understand words. You may already know the definition, and it's okay if you do. If you do, no need to hover over it. But the great thing is if you don't, hover over the word. It will tell you right there what that word means. Another awesome feature on this website is anything that you see that is green. If you click on it, it will actually take you into a new tab that allows you to read about that particular uh, thing. Like here, it would be about outer space. The next one is the International Space Station. So if you are curious and you want to know more about either one of those two things, you can click on those links and follow them further. But for today, we're just focused on this article itself. So let's go ahead and get started. What's the most fun, exciting, or adventurous thing you can think of? How about traveling to outer space? How cool would it be to view the Earth from the International Space Shuttle? Or, I'm sorry, International Space Station. Being an astronaut and exploring outer space has to rank up there with the coolest possible things in and out of this world. Oddly enough, though, one of the problems that many astronauts on long missions face is the opposite of excitement: boredom. If you're fascinated by outer space, you might wonder how astronauts could possibly get bored in space. If you give it some thought, though, you'll realize it's possible to get bored with just about anything. For example, Have you ever wanted a particular piece of electronic gadgetry for Christmas? Perhaps you've desired a video game console forever. You believe it'll be the greatest present ever. Once you receive it as a gift, it even exceeds your expectations, and you play with it day and night for several days. A few moments later, however, you play with it occasionally. I'm sorry, a few months later, however, you play with it occasionally, but it doesn't keep you occupied consistently like it used to. You still get bored even with the gadget you thought you couldn't live without. Now, imagine you're in outer space spending 6 months on the International Space Station. The trip up would be very exciting. The first few days and even weeks would be filled with all sorts of new experiences. Sooner or later, though, you're going to get bored spending all of your time in the same place, eating the same foods, and doing the same things over and over again, all without your friends and family around. Boredom in space is an even bigger problem for scientists trying to plan manned missions to Mars and other places far out in outer space. Can you imagine spending multiple years simply traveling to get to another planet? If you've ever asked, "Are we there yet?" on a 3 or 4 hour road trip, then you can imagine how bored you might feel if the answer to your question was only 2 more years to go. Yikes. There are many ways that astronauts combat boredom in space. First, they work a lot. Astronauts spend a lot of time conducting scientific experiments and making observations. All work and no play is no fun, though. So astronauts do get free time every day and especially on the weekends. What do astronauts do in their spare time? Although they don't have the range of options we have on Earth, they can do many of the same things we do to avoid boredom. They might talk to friends and family members via the internet. They could read books, listen to music, watch movies, or play cards. Perhaps they prefer to exercise. Sometimes they simply like to gaze out the window, watching Earth from a great distance. It is a big deal if is it a big deal if astronauts get bored? It can be. Scientists tasked with making sure astronauts stay healthy on long missions have found that boredom can become more than just a psychological problem. Prolonged boredom can lead to astronauts not eating enough food. On an extended mission, this could lead to malnutrition and other health problems. To counteract both boredom and malnutrition, NASA has started to give astronauts a variety of spices, along with the ability to cook some of their own meals. The creativity this allows has helped reduce boredom while also ensuring that astronauts are eating enough nutritious foods. So today, we're going to write a comment about one thing that you have done to combat boredom during this slow time when we're not allowed to go out and play on the playgrounds and hang out with friends and everything else that we are normally accustomed to doing. What is something that you are doing to beat the boredom at home?